Call to order the January 11th meeting of the Greenwich Township Land Use Board. This is the regular meeting of the Land Use Board of the Township of Greenwich. Adequate notice of this meeting has been given in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act. In that, a notice was published in the Express Times and Star Ledger newspapers. Notice was posted on the municipal bulletin board in the Township Administration Building in Greenwich Township, New Jersey, and notice was filed with the Township Clerk. Please stand for flag salute.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so I've sworn in the following members before the meeting tonight: Paul Beam, Joseph Girella, Brian Baylor, Andrea Sherlaw, George Bradlow, and our new member, Bob Graham. Bob. And so we now have a full complement of board members. Everyone's listed and everyone is eligible to participate in the rest of the meeting.
Great. I'll do a roll call. Mr. Bruce Williams.
Here.
Mr. Mark Scuderi.
Here.
Mr. Paul Beam.
Here.
Mr. Joseph Chitello.
Here.
Mr. Brian Baylor.
Here.
Ms. Kathy Cullen asked to be excused tonight. Mr. Gary Hill.
Not here, absent.
Mr. Joseph Fiamma.
Here.
Mr. Jeremy Blunt.
Here.
Ms. Andrea Sherlaw. Here. Mr. George Bradlaugh.
Here.
Ms. Dana Parker.
Absent.
Mr. Bob Graham.
Here.
Mr. John Drill.
Here.
Mr. Mike Finelli.
Here.
Ms. Kendra Lely. Here.
Okay, so Kathy Cullen has to be excused.
Kathy has to be excused. Gary did state that he would be here tonight.
Okay, so someone want to make a motion to excuse Kathy?
I'll make that motion.
Someone want to second that?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any
That was-
opposed?
That was Brian.
No one's opposed? Any abstentions? No,
Oh,
so Kathy's excused. And we'll wait on, hopefully Gary will come, and Dana Parker didn't ask to be excused, so she's just absent for now. Okay, Amy, you ready?
I'm born ready.
Don't want to end
Does anyone have a nomination for our chairperson? Oh, I just want to note for the record that Gary and Dana
Are here,
are here.
okay.
Everybody is here.
So someone gonna nominate someone for chair?
Nominate Bruce Williams. Second.
Any other nominations?
No? So let's convert that to a motion then. Anyone want to make a motion to appoint, please? Second.
Mark and Joe. Voice vote. All in favor? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Okay,
You don't have.
Thank you. You want the job? Yeah, nobody asked.
Are you up for it?
We knew he was ready, he's got his tie on.
I'll pass this over to you.
Pulling apart here.
Okay. Next order of business is we need a nomination for vice chair.
I'll nominate, Mr. Scuderi. Second.
first and Baylor, second, okay.
Make a motion.
Make a motion.
Making a
Can you
motion.
Make that a motion.
I made a motion. Second, it goes by second. Second. Thank you.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Okay.
Okay, congratulations, Mr. Scuderi. All right. Appointment of attorney. I need a,
Just do, yeah, these are, you can do motions if you want.
okay, I need a motion to appoint John Drill as our land use board attorney.
Motion.
Second.
Second, Joe Fiammi. Can we do all favors on this?
Yep.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion passes.
Thank you, everybody.
Need an appointment, we need a motion to appoint, Mike Benelli as our engineering expert.
A motion. Second.
Gary,
Karen Jordan.
German. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion passes.
Thank you, everyone.
We need a motion to appoint Kendra Lely as our planning expert.
Make the motion. I'll second.
Chairman, Gary, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstain? Congratulations, Kendra.
Thank you.
We need a motion to appoint Amy Fleming as our board secretary.
A motion.
Second.
Give it to Dana.
Gary
Gary
and
and
Dana,
Dana. Thanks, guys.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion passes. Selection of news, is there something I have to read for this?
No, you just have to identify the newspapers.
Still doing this.
The official newspapers,
Yeah, that's what it's. Which news? Because it's football. First time. Okay. I need a motion to select the Express Times and the Star Ledger as our official papers for publishing notices. Gary Hill.
I'll second.
And Mark Scuderi. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? None, motion passes. Approval of the 2024 calendar. Okay. So, yeah, so this would be, our meetings would be today, January 11th, February 8th, March 14th, April 11th, May 9th, June 13th, July 11th, August 8th, September 12th, October 10th, November 14th, and December 12th. Are they all the second Thursday or?
Yes.
yes,
Yes.
and we're also setting a reorganizational meeting for 2025, so you gotta read that one.
As the reorganization for 2025 is January 9th of 2025. So I need a motion to set those dates for our meetings. Mark Scuderi. And second, Gary Hill. All in favor? Opposed? Abstain? Motion passes. Okay. Authorization to charge for minutes, agendas and meeting notices.
In the same amounts as last year, and the
The
year
same
before that,
amounts
and the year before that, and the year before that.
Right. Which was. Okay, I need a motion to, Treasurer Mark Scuderi. Second.
Second. Start the ball.
Jeremy,
I need to step it up.
all in favor? Opposed? Abstain? Motion passes. Get down here to the end. Adoption of the rules and procedures, which I hope you've all read.
Which are the same as last year.
And
I can't swear that they're the same as the year before that, but they probably are.
it changed,
We had one change last year.
We added something on Zoom.
Yeah, so it's the same as last year.
same as last year, but I encourage you to read them. So we need a motion to adopt, our rules for the land use board.
Make a motion.
Gary, and I think Joe,
Gary and Joe.
all in favor, opposed? Abstain? Motion passes. Next order of business is approval of the November 9th, 2023 minutes. Are there any comments or corrections to the wonderful minutes that Amy has prepared? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adopt the minutes as written.
Yeah, this one can only be People can
People
only
who were
vote
there.
if they were there.
Bruce Williams, Paul Beam, Joseph Chicallo, Brian Baylor, Joseph Fiamma, and George Bradlaugh were at the meeting.
So only those people can make a motion, only those people can second, only those people can vote to adopt.
I'll motion. Second.
Joe.
Joe C. Mr. Bruce Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Paul Beam,
Yes.
Mr. Joseph Chicallo,
Yes.
Mr. Brian Baylor,
Yes.
Mr. Joseph Fiamma,
Yes.
Mr. George Bradlaugh.
Yes.
Okay, next order of business is the 2023 Land Use Board Annual Report, which our secretary has prepared. Are there any, first of all, any questions about the report? Are there any, Amy indicated that there were no recommendations to be made to the township committee. Does anybody have any recommendations? Just to double check with you. For changes or anything? So, nope, okay. So then I need a motion to adopt the land use board annual report. 2023. Mark?
Yeah.
Joe, should we roll call this one?
Voice voted.
Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Abstain? Motion passes. And that takes us up to the public hearing, land use board 2023-03, applicant McDonald's USA.
Now, there's a podium with a microphone, just so you know, that microphone doesn't work.
Okay,
Okay, now, there are microphones up in the ceiling that do work. And they'll pick you up from the podium.
okay.
They're very good.
So in other words, instead of down to the microphone, up.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, good evening. My name is Michael Lario. I'm an attorney at the firm of Nemat Davis and Goldstein. I'm here tonight on behalf of McDonald's USA LLC. This is an application concerning property at 1215 US Route 22, block 23, lot 36. The site is presently improved with an existing McDonald's fast food restaurant and a drive-through. The application before you tonight is for D3 variance relief, preliminary and final major site plan approval, and bulk variance relief in connection with the reconfiguration of that existing drive-through. Currently, the McDonald's fast food restaurant has a single lane dual order point drive-through configuration. What that means is cars are queuing in a single lane with 2 points in which they are placing orders. What McDonald's has found, starting really with COVID and continuing to today, is consumer habits have changed and more people are now utilizing the drive-thru as opposed to parking and going to the restaurant, placing the order there, eating your meal there. They're utilizing the drive-thru. In an effort to increase efficiency of these drive-thrus, McDonald's has realized that instead of a dual order point inline order configuration, a side-by-side dual order point configuration actually increases the overall efficiency, allowing cars to more easily and more quickly get in line, place their order, pick up their order, and exit the site. That really is the scope of these proposed improvements. It's essentially just reconfiguring that existing drive-through configuration. As I mentioned, we are seeking D3 variance relief here. The reason for that is really this McDonald's predates the B2 conditional use standards that apply for this site. This McDonald's was constructed approximately 1997 before the B2 conditional standards which apply. And really, there's one condition the applicant doesn't comply with, and that's requiring or prohibiting freestanding fast food restaurants with drive-throughs. So under your ordinance right now, a condition of fast food restaurants with drive-throughs is that they must be attached as part of the shopping center. Obviously, this McDonald's restaurant is a standalone restaurant. It's been a standalone restaurant for many years. But because we don't meet that single condition, we do need D3 variance relief from this board. As I indicated, we're also seeking preliminary and final major site plan approval for the improvements I discussed. We're also seeking bulk variance relief. The first bulk variance we're seeking is impervious coverage. Now, we're actually reducing the overall impervious coverage on the site. It's a de minimis reduction, but we're reducing it. But because that is an existing non-conforming condition, and the fact that we're changing the impervious with this proposed plan, it triggers the need for that bulk variance relief. We're also seeking variances in connection with the drive-through signage. Right now, there are 3 menu boards to serve that dual order point configuration. There's a pre-browse menu board and then 2 actual menu boards in which orders are placed. What happens when you go from the inline to the dual side-by-side is you require an additional pre-browse menu board. So
An additional what?
pre-browse menu board. So we're proposing 4 total signs, 2 menu boards, 2 pre-browse menu boards, where there's 3 signs currently existing. We're also seeking a variance for the total size of the drive-through clearance bar. Again, that puts a maximum height of vehicles that are permitted through the drive-through, and the reason for that is simply for drive-through safety for the building and for cars utilizing it. There's existing nonconformities for lot depth and lot frontage as well. Obviously, we're not proposing any changes there with those. And there are certain design waivers that our professionals can speak more to during their testimony. And again, that essentially is the nature of the application before you tonight. With me, I have the project engineer, Mr. Jeff Bevan. I have the project planner, Steve Hawk, and I have the owner and operator of the site, Mr. Sean McIntyre.
Okay, so let's get everyone sworn, including the board expert. So can everyone just go up towards Mr. Lario right now? Let's have everyone raise their right hand, including our 2 board experts. Does everyone swear or affirm the testimony you're gonna give in this proceeding will be the truth and whole truth, nothing but the truth? Start over there.
I do.
I do.
I do.
And then start over here again. Identify yourself for the record, spell your last name, and give your relationship to the applicant or the board as the case may be.
Sean McIntyre, McDonald's owner operator. McIntyre is McIntyre. First name is Sean.
Okay, and your position
I'm
with
the owner of McDonald's owner.
okay,
Jeffrey Bevan, Beavan, with Bowler Engineering, the project engineer.
okay, and you're a PE.
Correct.
Stephen Hawk, Stevens with a PH, Hawk, Hawk, and I am the planner for the applicant
And a PP.
and a PT.
Kendra Lely, board planner, I'm a PQ.
Mike Finelli, board engineer, PE.
Okay.
Great, thank you, Mr. Director. Mr. Bevan, I'd like to start with you first, if that's okay. If you could, can you bring up just the existing, maybe the area.
Yeah, right there, it's fine. Everyone can
If
see.
at any point anyone can't see anything, just let us know, we can readjust. You know, I know you indicated when you sworn in that you are. Can you please provide this board your qualifications?
Sure. So I have a degree in civil and environmental engineering from Lafayette College, professional engineer in the states of Pennsylvania, New York, and New Jersey, and 14 years of experience in land development and site plan design, including industrial, residential, and commercial properties such as this.
Have you appeared before boards like this on similar types of applications previously?
I have.
Mr. Chairman, I offer Mr. Bevan as an expert in professional engineering.
Okay, we'll accept his credential. Yeah, we should note for the record, there's no one in the public tonight, which is not the usual case. We normally have at least 2 people.
Right.
Mr. Bevan, I'd like to start with the existing conditions. Obviously, we're talking about the existing McDonald's fast food restaurant with the drive-through. If you can you briefly describe to the board, just so everyone's oriented as to the site that we're talking about right now, and its location to 22 there, and again, where the open shopping center.
Sure. So the site's located along Route 22, which is at the bottom of the aerial exhibit here.
And by the way, is that one of the pages in the plan set, or is that an exhibit that you brought tonight?
So, the aerial is an exhibit, I have the existing conditions.
Right, so let's just get that aerial marked as exhibit A1. If you could just mark it on the bottom right-hand corner, A1, and put today's date on it. And for the record, we're gonna call this A1 aerial exhibit.
So the property has frontage along Route 22, pulls access from a right-in, right-out
And
driveway.
just one other thing, where's the north arrow? Where's north on this exhibit?
So, north would be, I believe, this direction.
Okay, so north is to the left?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Probably.
So the board's aware.
Is north,
There's,
or is north to the left?
No, it's more to the left,
yeah, there's the
a
north.
little off.
arrow.
Okay, so the north arrow is actually northwest.
Right.
Correct.
Can you just, can we match that A1 with the existing conditions plan for a second, see if the building is configured? Yeah,
That's the
okay,
proposed plan.
north arrow is northwest.
North is always north.
Sounds
What do you mean, a
funny.
north arrow, John,
The
northwest.
north,
A north arrow is north.
yeah. The north arrow is to the upper left-hand corner of exhibit A1.
Good.
Good point.
I couldn't help myself.
So, describe, I know you were describing Route 22, Route 22 runs along, I guess, the western part of it.
Correct, approximately north-south on the western side of the site. Site access is via a right-in, right-out driveway off of Route 22 into the shopping center. That's a shared access driveway into the shopping center. The existing building is approximately 5,000 square feet with primarily counterclockwise circulation. The existing drive-through starts in what would be the southwest corner of the building. And runs counterclockwise. So the existing menu boards are along the side, the southeast corner, and the north or eastern side of the building. And then the pickup window is on the northern plane.
Okay, and you heard me describe my opening a little bit as to the history of this site. This restaurant has been in existence since approximately 1996.
Correct. It was constructed in 1997 and then reconstructed in 2006.
Okay, and the reconstruction, they received approval at that point to actually demolish the previously constructed building and build a new building on site.
Correct.
Okay, so let's turn to the proposed improvements. I know you mentioned the new drive-through configuration. Can you show the board with the proposed site plans? Again, where this new drive-through configuration will be located?
Sure. So this is site plan.
Before, I'm sorry to interrupt you, just to confirm, this was the site plan that was included as part of our submission to the board.
That's correct. The sheet C301 in the plan set. So the proposed improvements are really along the southeastern side of the building. And as was mentioned, it consists of widening the drive-through from 1 lane to 2 lanes. Starting at the beginning of the queue up to the order point. At that point, it will merge into 1 lane, wrap around the building to the pickup payment window and the pickup windows.
Okay, now, before we get into the proposed signage, can you explain a little bit as to what's causing these changes? And obviously, I'm sure many members on the board have seen in other fast food restaurants, these side-by-side configurations. Can you speak to a little bit as to what's driving this change with the drive-through configuration?
Sure. By having 2 order points, and the dual queuing lanes, back, leading up to that point, you get quite a bit of additional efficiency in being able to move traffic in and around the property. So you're able to take 2 orders at once, get the orders to the kitchen faster, and then providing additional queuing in between the order points and the pickup window that you're not able to do with the Kingdom drive-throughs or the 2 order points in a single file line. So one of the improvements with this is the queuing basically from the pickup window back around to the entrance of the drive-through will increase from approximately 10 vehicles today to 15 vehicles with this configuration.
Just to be clear, what you're saying is that the existing conditions right now allow a maximum safe number of 10 vehicles is safely queued. at one time.
Entirely within the drive-through.
Within the directive, correct. And what we are proposing will allow that number to be increased to 15.
Correct.
Okay.
Quick question. And for the board's benefit, the pay window and the pickup windows are in the same location as anyone who's used the facility, correct? It's just leading up to the pay window
That's
is
correct.
what's proposed, okay?
And just,
And one other clarification, when you say the existing can fit 10 cars in a queue, is the proposed gonna have 15 in each for a total of 30 or a total of 15?
It would be a total of 15
Okay.
from the
By
pickup
addition.
window, back around the building to the entrance of the
Okay,
drive.
so one lane's gonna accommodate 7 and one lane's gonna accommodate 8. Is that correct, or is it?
well, so can you speak a little bit as to that? Because I know that that's one nuance about the dual order, the side-by-side configuration, how it goes from 1 to 2 and then back into 1.
Correct. So, if you've been in the existing drive-through, it's one lane as you come around the building up to the payment and the pickup windows. That remains one lane, up and around the building. Basically, it starts as 2 lanes. So you're able to get, effectively 8 vehicles, queued, 4 in each lane up to the order point. After the order point, it merges, forms a single lane, and then wraps around the rest of the building.
Now, I know you indicated that this increases efficiency, it allows orders to be taken, more orders to be taken, people that get their food quicker. There's a safety component with that as well, allowing these cars to prevent gridlock, to prevent cars from over queuing into the drive aisles. Can you speak a little bit as to the safety improvements that this configuration costs?
Sure. By allowing more throughput through the drive-through, you're able to reduce the queuing. So if they're in the existing configuration, or in excess of 10 vehicles in the drive-through, they would start to wrap around the front of the site. Whereas here, you can accommodate additional vehicles in the drive-through, and the drive-through will actually operate faster. So you're moving more vehicles through, more quickly. The other thing we have with this configuration, we have a bypass lane, around the entire site, or around the drive-through, so that the second drive-through lane isn't impacting circulation around the site.
And these types of improvements, these side-by-side configurations, they are being proposed by McDonald's in restaurants across the state, correct?
That's correct.
Just recently, Phillipsburg just recently got an approval for the exact same type of proposals we're presenting to this board now.
That's correct.
Okay, and again, that is partially in connection with changing consumer trends I spoke about earlier, the increase in drive-through usage.
Yes,
Yeah, can
absolutely.
you hold up for 1 second? Because Mike just pointed out that I forgot something very important, and that is because this involves a D variance, and this is a joint board, our class 1 and our class 3 can't participate. Okay, so you guys can, if you want to listen, you can listen. This is not a recusal situation. This is a non-participation situation under the MLUL if the D variance is involved. So Paul and Brian, either take the night off or sit back and listen, but you can't, neither of you can say anything. Forget about not voting.
And Sir, I believe we're fine with 7, there's 7
yeah.
voting members.
Oh, yeah. You're well stocked. This is a 4 alternate board. Yeah.
Perfect. So I do want to circle back real quickly as to a comment as from the board engineer as to changes in the pickup or payment limit. We're actually not proposing any changes to the existing building as part of this, correct?
That's correct.
Really, the scope of these improvements are just limited to this drive-through area, correct?
That's correct.
So the site, the building itself will continue to look the exact same.
There won't be any change to that.
Okay. All right, let's speak a little bit as to the new menu boards that I talked about. We are proposing a total of 4 new menu boards, correct?
Correct.
Okay, can you speak a little bit as to those new menu boards?
Sure. So we have 2 full menu boards, one for each order point in the drive-through lanes. And we have 2 pre-browse menu boards, which are smaller signs set basically 1 vehicle back. And that's to basically display specials, give an advance view of some of the menu items that we'd be able to order at the order point.
Okay, and currently there's 2 menu boards and 1 pre-browse sign, correct?
That's correct.
So we're just proposing 1 additional pre-browse sign to serve that additional drive-through lane.
Correct.
Okay, and the pre-browse and the menu boards, just, I know it was a comment in one of the board professional review memos. We're not talking about scrolling or flashing lights here. These will be, changes every, I think it's every 30 seconds approximately, but there's no constant motion or moving with these, correct?
That's correct. So,
These are digital boards. When you change the text, it's instantaneous changing of the text.
correct. So the menu boards will change approximately 4 times a day. And that's basically when we're changing the menus. So to go from breakfast to lunch, so on. The pre-browse menu boards, because they're meant to cycle through some of the specials, will change approximately every, I believe, 8 seconds. But again, those are really visible to the vehicle that's queued behind the vehicle at the order point. So it's traffic that's sitting in that line.
And one way that McDonald's works to ensure that it's focused just on that vehicle, they actually have privacy screens on these that reduce visibility unless you are directly in front of the pre-browse menu board, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Can you speak a little bit as to the gateway clearance sign? I know we're also seeking a variance for the total area of that. Can you just show where on the plans that's gonna be located?
So that'll be located at the beginning of the separator island between the two drive-through lanes. And it's basically one post and a clearance bar that will cross over both lanes.
And what's the variance condition? Or what's the variance? Why is the variance required for that?
So I believe it's related to the height and the sign area. So the double gateway clearance bar has an area of 3.77 or 8.77 square feet and is approximately 11.17 feet off the ground. Basically to act as an indicator for vehicles going under that they will clear any other obstruction ahead of them.
Can we show the board exactly what that's gonna look like?
Yeah, that would be a good idea.
And just before you begin, just to confirm, this was an amended sign sheet. So I think, Mr. Grillis, this will be an exhibit because there was, based upon the comments we received, we updated the zoning compliance chart.
What is the date on that exhibit?
And what is
The last
what's the
revised.
sheet number on that?
Yeah.
Sheet number is SC 302,
It is
Yes.
302.
but it's revised, like, I have one revised to 814. That's revised again?
Correct.
Okay, what's the last
Okay.
revision date on that one?
I think this is still 814.
So the official revision date wasn't updated because this was just gonna be used for as an exhibit during the
Okay, so we're
hearing.
gonna mark this as exhibit A2, and you're gonna have to, do you have the changes on there bubbled or in a different color
They're
or
in
something?
red.
Oh,
Okay, so
yeah,
exhibit
that's right.
eight-
That's different than.
Yes,
Yeah.
so this was
You have,
updated.
you have
based
another
upon-
block, it looks like.
Yes,
So this is
Okay.
sheet C302. And excuse me, there a handwrite in the revision table. Put in today's date. And then the description, revisions per board expert memos. Amy, do you have a large sheet copier here or not? Mike, can you take that back to your office? Sure. Put it through your large sheet copier.
And send it to everybody?
Yeah.
I can
Okay.
send an electronic copy as well.
You know what? That's even better. We'll leave it in the minutes. Wait. I want it with the exact revision dates. I want
I
the.
can do both if that's easier. It'll be the
Okay.
same.
Just make,
You have the ability to copy a big one at your office?
No, but we have an electronic PDF.
I understand.
Okay.
Just take notes or take a picture of this and make sure that when you send the thing through.
Mhm.
That the last revision date with today has this description that it matches that identically.
And I'll take that one.
Yeah, and you'll take that one. It's just because this wasn't on file 10 days before, technically that can't be approved. However, if the board wants to grant an approval, you could approve the August one, subject to a condition that they be revised to be consistent with that, if you like what you see on that.
So just to clarify, we're not proposing any changes to the signs that were shown on the original sign plan. It's just the compliance with the ordinance has been revised here, calling out additional variances that were triggered. under
Correct,
the
I
review.
understand, but assuming that the board gets to the point where they'd want to approve this, Mike and the township, they're gonna want the plan set that's approved
Mhm.
to show that it complies to show the variances
Yeah.
that are granted, et cetera. So they're gonna want this.
Understood.
There will, if they're gonna approve it, there's gonna be a condition saying that those plans have to be revised to incorporate everything on that sheet.
Let's start with the drive-through. I think the clearance sign, right there. I know we were talking about that last. Can you just run through again the specifics as to the area and the height of that sign?
Sure, so the signage area total is 8.7 square feet, and it's 11.17 feet. To the top of that sign. And again, that's located at the beginning of the drive-through, the separator island.
And just because we're talking specifics here, and obviously Mr. Hawk will provide planning testimony in support of the requested variances, we are seeking variance relief for the total number and the total area of the drive-through menu board signs. Can you speak to that?
Sure. So because we're going from 3 to 4 signs, the menu boards will result, they go from 20 square feet existing to 21.5 square feet, and that's because of an addition of the actual, like the speaker box and that. Those are mounted at 6 feet high, and the pre-railed menu boards are 10.1 square feet. There's one existing at 10.1 square feet. There are 2 proposed at 10.1 square feet each, and those will be at 6.47 feet high.
Now, we also, as part of this reconfiguration here, we are losing some parking spaces. Can you speak to the parking spaces we're losing on site?
Sure. So in the existing condition, we have 61 parking spaces, where 34 are required. As part of the provision of the bypass lane around the site here, we are losing approximately 11 spaces. So in the final condition, there will be 50 parking spaces, where again, 34 are required.
Okay, and this proposal is, as I mentioned, is losing these parking spaces. McDonald's doesn't anticipate that being an issue. One, obviously conforms with the ordinance, but 2, based upon the increase in drive-through business, those loss of 11 parking spaces, they don't anticipate any issue.
That's correct.
Okay. Let's talk about the board engineer's review memo. There's a few comments in there. One of the comments dealt with loading and unloading. I guess just unloading, particularly at this site. Can you speak to where that?
And when you address the memos, give us the page, the numbers and all that, so we can follow along with the memos.
I mean, that's all.
It's on page 3. I understand that, but I want him to do that.
Page 3 of my memo, the December 8th report.
And start with, you might as well just start with, hours of
You want to just
operation.
run right through?
Yeah, run right through,
Okay.
tip to toe.
So hours of operation, you speak to the current hours of operation for the restaurant?
Sure. The hours are currently 6 a.m. to 12 a.m. daily.
Okay. And those have been in existence for how long? Do you know approximately?
I don't know exactly when they started those, but it's been quite a few years.
But no changes proposed.
No, we're not proposing any changes.
And that's what, I don't believe that there's a limitation on hours in this zone. I just want to check with Mike and Kendra if you think I'm wrong. Did you look at this by any chance?
So I did, there does look like there is a limitation on the hours of operation, but it went into effect in 2009. It's our understanding that these hours have been in existence well before.
What section of the ordinance has that?
It's section 16-4.18.
16-4.1.
I have it.
Okay, I think it's,
For the B2
yeah,
district,
for B2, I had a feeling that
shall be limited from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. So right now you're 6 a.m. to 12 a.m.
Correct.
and you want to keep it that way.
Correct.
So just to dot the i's and cross the t's, I think that they should apply for a variance from that. I'm gonna say that your notice, you have catch-all in there, so it's gonna cover it, so this is not a notice issue. So I think the board should address the additional 2 hours that they want, and I represent the board, obviously, not them. But part of their argument will probably be when their planner gets up, is that they've been operating 6 a.m. to 12 a.m. It hasn't been a problem. And it serves some people that obviously must be hungry or whatever. From 10 p.m.
Don't
until-
go.
I have
until-
teenagers.
Right,
It's
it's
all
12
systems
a.m.
go here.
Yeah, so there's obviously, there must be a need for it, but I assume their planner is gonna make some sort of argument like that.
Yes.
Ever.
So, and just because I think we're on the topic, and I do hate to jump, but site lighting on page. It is, I had it.
It's page 5,
Yes, comment 3.
3.
The extinguishment of lighting after closing, we have no problem agreeing to that condition that I think it's within 1 hour after the close of business, that those lights will be shut off on site. Correct.
I don't believe that's anything.
So off-street loading and unloading space, now again, I apologize for jumping back to where we were under hours of operation, off-street loading and unloading spaces, page 3. Can you explain to the board where unloading currently takes place in the plan for, if this is approved, where it'll take place?
Sure, so the loading currently takes place at the rear of the building, furthest from 22 on the eastern side. The truck basically will pull up, stop, offload into the rear loading doors of the building here. McDonald's will get basically 2 deliveries a week. They're there for approximately 30 minutes. Everything that comes in is palletized, so it's a very quick operation to offload and restock the building without impacting traffic flow around the site.
And these delivery times is twice a week, about 30 minutes. It's requested that these take place off hours, so as not to impact circulation around the site.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So section 16-10.3A is the off-street loading and unloading requirement, correct? So what relief do you then need if you're not having the designated space? Is it a variance or an exception? In other words, is it in the zoning ordinance? If it is, it's a variance. If it's in the site plan standards, it would be an exception.
Section 16's zoning, so.
Zoning, so it's gonna be a variance, which would also be covered in your catch-all.
And again, the planner can speak to the existing, we're not proposing really any changes to on-site unloading as to what's out there
Now, I
now.
understand, but under the time of application law, NJSA 40:55D-10.5, because this application is making changes to the site, all the ordinances that are in effect now apply to it. So just make sure the planner has this on his list. I want the I's dotted and T's crossed. So if the board approves this thing, that no one, starts to challenge something, though, you don't have a variance for it or something.
Understood. So for signs, and again, I think our planner can speak more to that, Mr. Joe, as to the off-street loading and unloading. For signs, I know we spoke as to the variances required for the total number and total area of both the free browse, the menu board, and the gateway clearance signs. Reviewing the engineer and the planner, and this is one where I think that there's some overlap with the engineer's review memo and the planner's review memo. I believe that is all the relief that is necessary for these signs.
I agree.
Turning to lighting on page 4. Can you speak a little bit as to, are we proposing any changes to site lighting?
We are not. The existing lighting that's out there will remain. None of the fixtures are impacted by this modification.
And it's our understanding that it is compliant with the requirements of the ordinance, and a note can be added to the plans indicating as much.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
We spoke as to the extinguishment of lighting 1 hour after closing. Freestanding lighting in the perimeter of parking lots, again, we are compliant, we'll add the note to the plan, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Bulk requirements on page 5.
Just a quick question. Item 4 under lighting. Mike says they shall be aligned with the parking stall striping and located at a minimum of 2.5 feet to the edge of the curb. Are you saying that you comply with that now, or you're agreeing to make that change?
I would have to confirm that one. Because no lights were being modified as part of this application. I don't have the exact distance of those.
I understand, so because if you say, oh yeah, we're gonna put a note saying it complies, and you put a note saying it complies and it doesn't comply. In Greenwich, they farm out the construction permits, they have their own zoning officer, but you
I understand.
might find yourself with a problem.
What we can do is, we can certainly agree to the preparation of a lighting plan and a submission, and if the board is agreeable to it, we can. Just trying to.
I think what you should do is after he finishes testifying and his cross-examination is done and you have your next witness, he should take the plan and try to figure it out, if it complies or not, because if it doesn't comply, then you should apply for relief, do it tonight, don't. If you ask the board to impose a condition, oh, we'll submit a lighting plan, and then the lighting plan doesn't comply, then what are you gonna do? I mean, you can't ask for a variance ahead of time if the thing doesn't comply.
Sure, I understand. And again, I think when this applicant came before for the redesign in 06, I think these standards were in effect, but obviously.
They
that was-
probably were, because 2006 was a major reworking of the ordinance, but that's why I'm suggesting when
Yeah.
he's done, he just
Just
goes
doing
and checks.
I understand. For bulk requirements on 5, the lot depth, lot frontage, I mentioned, those are existing non-conforming conditions. Obviously, we're not changing anything with those.
That's correct.
Right, and on those, I assume that you'd want worse variances granted for them already. If they were, they run with the land. Do you know if variances, so in other words, there's two resolutions. There's from 2006. There's a resolution memorializing the grant of the D3 variance. And then there's a resolution memorializing the grant of preliminary and final site plan approval and bulk variance relief. Do you know if variances are included in this 2006 site plan approval for the lot depth and lot frontage?
So
I assume they are, but do you know?
I don't know. I think in abundance of caution, we'd like to ask.
Well,
for
why don't
them.
you add it to your list? When you're looking at that, if you don't have a copy of the resolution, I'll give you mine, look at that. If you have it in already, it runs with the land. If you don't have it in, then, you know, you don't have to, but it would seem that
Sure,
to be
absolutely.
conservative, you'd wanna also apply for those.
And again, I know the lot itself was the same lot that was approved in 06, but we'll take a look at the resolution and confirm that. Impervious coverage, that is a variance that we know we require, although we are decreasing the impervious. Can you speak a little bit as to that?
Sure. So the existing site is approximately 71% impervious cover. We are dropping it down to 70%. So not a huge reduction, but we're removing approximately 254 square feet of existing impervious.
But we are seeking a variance because ultimately we are moving the impervious on site as part of the net reduction.
That's correct. We are shifting it, and the requirement in this district is 60%.
Okay. For performance standards under 16-19C, compliance with standards for fire and explosion hazards, emission of smoke, dust, fumes, gases, odors, vibration, noise, and glare. None of those are impacted with this proposed development, and we're not proposing any changes that will make any of those an issue, correct?
That's correct.
In other words, the addition of 5 more cars in the queuing line is not gonna, emission car fumes and all that sort of stuff is not gonna increase substantially to cause a problem.
It will not, and in fact, the cars will actually be moving through a little bit faster.
Then there are a number of plan revisions that are requested under the miscellaneous comments. I think,
Yeah, put it this way, under those, if there's any that you disagree with or you wanna discuss, say so, otherwise,
we're
you're
willing
fine
to
having
comply
all
with
those imposed as conditions, is that correct?
Yes. We can go right to the planners review memo.
And for the record, this is Kendra Lely's review memo dated December 11, 2023, correct?
Correct.
And I think, even though there might be some repetition, you should just take it from the top and go tip to toe on this one also.
For zoning and compliance, I think we spoke to the need for the D3 relief for first condition that standalone freestanding fast food restaurants with drive-throughs are not permitted. They need to be
The
physically
plan is
attached.
gonna address that, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
For number two, no flags, hanging banners, strings, banners, or other such signs shall be permitted. Window signs are limited in area and in number. We comply with all of that, correct?
My understanding is.
So you have no problem as a condition adding a note to the plan stating that you comply with that?
Correct. And then architect, landscape and the overall design we're not proposing any changes to the overall architecture of this building as part of this application, correct?
No, we're not.
Our planner can speak more to the specific architectural design of this building and as how it fits into the overall shopping center.
Can you speak to the landscaping piece of it? I know that you received a new approval in 2006. It appeared that there was some landscaping that was removed from the frontage of the site. Can you do you know anything about the 2006 approval and?
So we did review the comments. I think there's two comments in your memo as to landscaping to attempt to shield it from Route 22. We've talked with the owner operator. Obviously, the visibility of this restaurant to cars passing by on 22 is critically important. I mean, they have to be able to see this restaurant as they're passing by.
Right, but was there landscaping that was required in the 2006 approval that has been subsequently removed?
Yeah.
That's the question.
That's pretty
That's what
much
she's
my
trying to ask you.
Okay.
Well, that's what she did ask you.
Yeah.
But I wasn't aware of that.
So, yes, there was. It sounds like the owner operator the owner operator may be
Okay, that's
better
fine.
suited to answer that question.
The owner operator was there in 2006. He's been around since 2006.
No, sir.
Oh, okay.
No, sir. I just bought the restaurant a couple of years.
Yeah, can you just identify yourself for the
Sean
record?
McIntyre.
And Sean, just to confirm for the record, you are the owner and operator of this McDonald's restaurant.
That's correct. That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're a lay witness, he's not an expert.
No, I'm an expert.
Amber.
Yeah. There was shrubbery, it was looking terrible, it was looking ratty, and, so I removed it, I wasn't aware that I couldn't do that,
Well, put it this way, if it looked ratty, replace it with new stuff, it will look good.
and, well, it looked good the way it was when it was gone, so.
Right, but.
I thought he just gave testimony there.
That's his lay opinion. So this is one of the things that would normally be a condition that if there was an approval requiring landscaping, that it has to be put back unless you want to seek relief. But this one, I think, would probably be a hard relief to get, but you guys can talk about that after this witness finishes also.
Okay. And Sean, just to confirm, do you know the type of landscaping that was out there?
I don't know, it's just, they were bushes, they were.
Okay, and you'd be okay with low-lying shrubs to get something? I mean, the only thing that we would ask is, and I don't think I saw anything in the resolution, but if there was landscaping, we'd ask that it still be that same type of low-lying shrubs, just to not impact
Do
visibility.
you guys have a copy of the 2006 site plan that was approved? If you don't, I know who has one.
Who might that be?
That might be you.
Correct.
So,
Because that's where I got the 2006 resolutions that I emailed to you
okay,
back in December. I got them from Mike. Mike has everything.
and we have no issues with complying with that. I think, just as long as, again, they're, and I think they were, right, that you're saying that.
But put it this way, whatever was on that plan is gonna have to be
Okay,
put back.
Or a,
Or-
as like substitution
Okay.
that we would talk
do we have
about.
a problem with that?
Yeah.
Okay, we have no,
Honest mistake, sorry.
Alright.
Well, that's an important distinction on whether or not they have to comply with the 2006 plan or change.
Yeah, that's true.
So as to allow maybe Kendra to review whatever the quote unquote new landscaping might be. Not that it needs to be identical to the 2006 landscape.
Yeah, I
don't
agree.
know,
I
as
think-
as an idea.
I think we can work out a shrub.
Actually, that might be,
yeah,
that
and
might be a better suggestion.
we're happy to
that
work. with the
Landscaping
plan.
is gonna be put back, subject to review and approval by the board's planner and landscape expert, if the board is willing to delegate like that. If the board doesn't want to delegate like that, then you just say, look back what was supposed to be there in 2006. The board, at some point, we're gonna ask the board that.
And again, we have no problem working with the board
That's fine.
planner as part of that. Um.
Yeah, I think everything else is
Yeah, I was gonna say, if
more
there's any other,
planning testimony. The only other question I had at the very end, and it really has to do with, again, the landscaping, along Route 22, but I do have a question about the landscape island in between the two, drive-throughs. What will that be?
So that is typically, like a river rock or a mulch,
Okay, they don't show on the plan now.
Yeah, so what does
Do they?
the plan show?
Sorry, maybe you do.
Let's see, what does the plan show?
The plan shows it as an open island,
Okay, so
so it's not proposed as hard.
There's gonna be some sort of condition saying. Put what? What do you want? What are you proposing?
Again, I think river rock would typically be.
that's fine. I think it's from a maintenance perspective, it's probably.
Wasn't there
easier
a
to deal
question
with.
as to whether that was impervious or not?
I don't know I don't know if Mike had that question.
Well, actually, let's see, again, I know that nothing's proposed on the plan, but is it an impervious or pervious surface proposed on the plan right now?
So right now, it's proposed as pervious,
Pervious,
correct?
so if it.
It'll basically be open soil below.
Okay, how wide is it?
I believe it's about 6 feet wide.
If it's river rock, which obviously has a very high void ratio, I would say that could be considered pervious. Because it's on soil, correct? Everybody good with that?
Yeah.
Because obviously it's not.
Well, we might be good with it. See if the board's.
Well,
fine with
I
it.
was actually asking.
Yeah, in other words, river rock, big gaps could be considered impervious,
No,
pervious. Okay, so the condition would be add river rock, we need the wording to where?
To the island.
separation island, I think is.
Island between the dual drive-through lane.
River rock over mulch, because you're sitting in a drive-through, you have people drop out their cigarette butts,
Yep.
mulch fires all the time.
Yeah, I agree.
River rock. not available.
Very good point. Spoken like a true fireman.
I'm not a fireman, but
Yeah.
I stayed at a Holiday Inn Express.
Oh, geez. Very good.
Just take my calls and watch this.
That's all I have. I'm good.
Those are all the questions I had for the project engineer. Obviously, if any member of the board, any board professionals have any
Well-
questions?
Do our board professionals have any questions?
Nope.
Open it up to the, board members. Anybody have any questions? Go.
Where did the impervious or the pervious gain come from?
Wait, say it again, Joe. Where does the
There's
pervious,
a little
a
bit of,
gain
a
in
little bit of gain in the,
Impervious.
where did you eliminate the impervious from?
So I believe as part of the provision of the landscape island, or of the bypass lane, we added some additional pervious here. Leave along the rear of the building and in this area here. So right now, I believe the lane cuts a little bit closer to the building as it wraps around, so we push that out with the radius.
so is that dark
And
area?
utilize more of the existing parking for those, the dual lanes there.
That was all impervious, right? Before.
Correct.
Is that dark, that shaded area on the outside of that lane, is that, what does the shading indicate?
So that's proposed as full depth pavement. Basically, when we go and cut out for the concrete pad, we will pave approximately 2 feet around it, where we cut the existing pavement and remove it. So the other area that we're getting impervious is that separator island,
And the total amount is again approximately the 200.
about 250 square feet difference.
Where, can you show us where the pedestrian entrances to the building are?
Sure. So I believe the pedestrian entrance is in the bottom left of the building here. So you have the, huh? It's 22. Yeah, so you have the ADA parking, the crosswalk, and then, it's in the bottom left. corner
Use
of the
just that
building.
one, yeah, because I actually think eliminating those parking spots on the side is actually a safety improvement, because otherwise they were walking, people walking from there over to the entrance.
The kids, that's what the play area was.
There's actually an entrance over here too, where you're coming from the back and just for your information.
Okay,
I'm sure no one's gonna use that now because nobody's parking on the side anymore.
any other questions from board members? Yeah, Gary?
I have a question, and I'm referencing the, 301. You talked about the loading. The truck makes its loading, and it's gonna be, is there gonna be enough room for a truck to swing? Because when you look at the map, you have that gray area. Upper right, it looks like it's labeled M15 and P1. Right about where your pen is now.
Yes,
So is that, what is that? That gray area, what is that?
so that's where we're removing a landscape island that's there today
Okay,
to allow for that truck circulation.
okay,
Yeah, that's
So that'll
becoming
get replaced with
pavement,
pavement.
Gary, so,
okay.
so it doesn't.
And going back to what Mr. Drill said before about the hours of operation, is there, John, is there anything on the books that says because our hours of operation program is gonna be from 6 AM to midnight? I didn't see any, quick look on the thing, is there anything saying that they can't have deliveries between midnight and 6 AM? Because they're talking about having deliveries when it's not gonna impact hours of operation, are they allowed to have
All right,
deliveries?
let's look at the ordinance to see exactly what it says. If it says that those are the hours of operation, to me, operation,
Exactly, includes delivery times.
all operation, but let's just see what the ordinance says.
I mean, personally, I don't think it's that big of a deal because of the area that it's in, but again.
What time would deliveries when it's closed? or is
Yes,
it-
I mean, the goal is to always have deliveries when it's closed, just because you don't impact the actual customers coming and using.
Right,
the
right,
restaurant.
sure. And
Well, let's just read it. It says in the B2 zone, the hours of operation shall be limited to. Okay, so if you ask Kendra and I for our opinion, hours of operation means,
Yeah, and I
Nothing's
tried
happening.
searching loading and deliveries.
so if you wanna
I
have
didn't find
deliveries
it.
after 12 AM, you're gonna need a variance from that also.
We have to want it, that's quicker.
Yeah.
If we do it then,
Yeah.
better.
So one clarification I'd like to make is that when they do receive the deliveries, they're not necessarily received by staff inside the building. So believe the delivery drivers typically have access or have a key to the storeroom and stockroom areas. So when they are dropping it off, they can access it, drop it off without having any staff there.
Okay,
So
what
it's
is-
not truly.
I
operating.
understand, but it's still an operation going on. This doesn't talk about staff, so what time do you do your delivery? What time do you wanna just tell the board?
Well,
Because the planner, you can make a good argument that it's not bothering anyone, no one's there, it's even better that way. And it's near the highway, it's not like it's a residential neighborhood.
what time normally?
You just made a great argument.
No,
exactly.
right, but what are the hours?
Exactly. They deliver, like sometimes we try to get them, early, at like 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning. And it's, the driver just comes in, wheels the stuff out, puts it in the freezer and comes out, locks the door and he's off. And it's really,
Between 3 and 4 is when you're requesting these deliveries.
yeah.
Can I make a suggestion? Why don't you request deliveries after 12 AM and before 6 AM?
I would like a delivery between after 12 AM and before 6 AM.
A variance for deliveries only in terms of
Yeah.
hours of operation.
Well, two variances, one to allow them to actually
Right.
have the restaurant open 10 PM to 12 AM, and a second variance, a separate variance for deliveries after 12 AM and before 6 AM, correct?
Correct.
And the planner, I assume, is gonna make the argument that saw you over that, I figured what you're gonna say, you make sure you say it.
I started to talk.
Okay.
So, and in terms of the place where you pay your money, which is right on that corner there,
Yes.
you're not changing anything about that, right? Because that's a really
I got
tight,
a question about that. That was my
that's
next
a
question.
really tight term coming around there.
Might wanna ask about changing that because that is a tight term.
It is, but you're
You
not,
can see the edges of.
it sounds like you're not changing that at all.
Now, why don't you, so ask them about that. Have you looked at the, what they're talking about, the safety of that turn?
The first pay window is really tight. You got the cameras that you
The
have there
safety is to
are
your
always
members
getting
of
knocked
the
off. It's straight from the side of the building.
Corolla, okay, SUV, your stuff, it's bad. Before we go through the private-
Or God forbid, somebody have a small camper to
I'll
pull.
tell you what, I think this is one of the things we should talk about when you're talking about, when you are reviewing to see about the lighting, and when you're reviewing to see if variances were previously granted for lot depth and lot frontage. You're probably gonna wanna ask for like a 10-minute adjournment after he finishes testifying and talk about those things. Add this to the list.
Does the board have any more questions for this witness?
No, the other one was covered with the tree.
Because we
board.
do still do have the planner coming up. so.
All
right.
Thank you. Should have copied the 2006.
Right, so why don't you ask for a recess right now of 10 minutes before your planner comes up?
Mr. Chairman, if the board is agreeable, we'd like to take 2 minutes, talk through some of these new issues that that have come up with the board. Come back and then present with our planner.
Motion for recess?
You can just- you just
All right, 10-minute
decree it.
recess.
You need a copies of those two 2006 resolutions, you got it? Okay. So the chairman wants to go back into the meeting to knock off
Yeah.
the two agenda items after the hearing, so you knock them off now, and at the end of the hearing, you can all go home.
That's why he's the chair.
All adjourned?
Other than that one.
Oh, sorry. Escrow balances. I noticed that we had quite a negative on our Metro Tech. Did you know if we?
I believe Shannon reached out.
And by the way, that's the one where.
Yeah.
Well, and you apparently got paid and,
Yeah, no, I think, well, we really haven't been doing anything, so I
I'm the
think
last
we're
one in.
okay.
yeah, but I mean, it's negative because of his check.
That's not his fault.
No, I know, no, my point is, what our agreement before was, if there's not money in the escrow, we don't pay.
Yeah, it shouldn't. be.
We should, we don't pay. And then, but that it should trigger them to seek it, and of course, they tell you not to do anything or
Right, but here's the
whatever.
problem.
Yeah.
Once they get their permits, and if they already have the zoning permit and the construction permit, you can hope that they give you the money. If not, the
They're
township's
not
gonna
there
have to
yet.
sue them.
They just submitted for compliance review.
Yeah,
Oh, good.
Yeah.
yeah, they just submitted yesterday, I think.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so no, we have an opportunity, yeah.
Okay, well,
You have legal leverage.
so is your bill in?
Oh, my bill's been in for, yes, my bill's in.
I have a lot merger deed here that they want me and you to sign as well.
Do not sign it.
Yeah.
Do not sign it. Tell them,
Escrow's
we were
not
all
in.
ready to sign it, and we found out, oh my gosh, they owe escrow.
Okay.
Actually,
Cause
Bruce,
these were printed a week ago.
I understand.
So
We
I
should
don't
make
know
a
if-
motion so to give Amy. Did not hurt.
Yeah, oh, yeah, okay, so. So the motion is to not sign the, what is it?
Do you want me to
Deed of
text
permit.
Shannon and see if she knows if they
Yeah,
cut a check in the last week?
Yeah, text her right now,
Yeah.
please.
Okay, well, and I didn't know if that was the process either. Yeah.
Hilario, we're still in session, by the way. We came back in, so, just so you know.
Right, we'll talk about that. So, did anybody else have any questions on the escrow balances or anything? We're closed.
These guys look like they're back, so
We won't do the affordable housing
until the end.
until the end, okay. You guys ready to go?
We are. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So we had an opportunity to speak as to some of the comments that were raised during the engineer's testimony. We looked through the resolution quickly from 06. It does not look like those existing non-conforming conditions variances were granted
Okay,
for.
so my suggestion is. Those are, to me, like no-brainer C1 hardship variances for the lot depth and the lot frontage. They don't have enough lot depth, they don't have enough lot frontage, and there's a current building on there, there's not really much they can do about it. So your planner, I'm sure, is gonna make a C1 hardship argument on those. How about the ordinance section 16-12B6D, the freestanding lights, the parking to be aligned with the parking stall striping and located a minimum of 2.5 feet to the edge of the curb.
So looking at the plans right now, and without the benefit of a lighting plan, we are going to seek relief from that condition.
Okay, but to do what?
To keep existing, we can submit a lighting plan, but we ask that existing conditions be maintained.
Yeah, that's why it was brought up in our report, because as best we could tell, scaling it from the drawing, because it's not dimensioned per
Okay,
se.
so put it this way.
Yeah.
If you're okay with that and the board's okay with it, then this would be a little unusual. We wouldn't be granting an exception to say exactly what was being allowed. The exception would be to allow what's there to remain.
Exactly.
Okay. So hold on. And I guess that would also be a C1 hardship because what's there is there.
Correct.
You guys are getting a lot of help this time.
Okay, and then there was one other thing on the list, and that's that tight turn. So
So I spoke with the owner operator. He actually was not aware of it. It's something that he can certainly take a look at, and we're not proposing any changes to the structure as part of this application. What we can agree to is some type of sign on the wall there identifying that take caution as you make the turn. And we believe that may be one way to try to address.
do you have enough room to make the driveway there or whatever the lane wider? Because I don't think they're asking you to move the building, but if you
No,
made.
it's just-
To reconfigure the,
Now, it's really just a
Right by
neighborhood because they've got that window right on the corner. And there's just no way around that.
It's an ergonomics disaster. It really is. And the larger part of it.
yeah,
I'm not-
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is,
That's where you end up.
one way to mitigate the issue, to deal with it, it looks like there's a teardrop shaped island.
Yeah, that's, to me,
M6 is.
that's gotta move.
Right, and if they move that a bit, and cut into it, that would make that
And,
easier.
and there's another spot, because there's two corners there
Right,
where you can hit. So
yeah, you're right.
shrink that.
We'd be happy to do it. To get rid of that teardrop that's there, if that's going, and again,
It's not even, don't even have to get rid of it. It's just make that a little bit smaller, and then there's another, when you make this second turn here, just make this, because you already got people that are doing the curb work.
Mike, do me a favor,
Move that curb work.
Go down there and see what they're talking
Well, we're
about.
dealing
I
with
need
a lot.
language from you on what the condition's gonna say.
Well, I was gonna make another statement, and I think Gary might.
Yeah, it's
The apple pie.
C3,
I got it.
It's on.
You got it.
Can you explain this to Mike? Because I'm gonna ask Mike to give me language to put as a condition
basically just.
to do X, Y, Z. I
This way a little bit.
understand the concept, but I don't
This curve.
have any wording for how to accomplish it.
It's not gonna impact this parking space. It's not gonna impact it.
You wanna ask for another 5-minute recess so you can, get this thing worked out?
I
Because
think
we're on the record and everyone's talking.
Pay window right here, and just,
See,
the only problem is the cars have to stop right here, we've got the pavement.
All right, let's
And.
let's do a 5-minute recess.
There's not queue in the day.
sorry. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
what are we doing?
So, Jeff, actually, I think our engineer's gonna come back up just because we're proposing a site change here, so I think it's in his value.
And what I'm gonna be, just so you know, I'm gonna ask you to take that exhibit A2 and draw on it in red on what the proposed solution is gonna be.
Sure.
But first describe it.
So what we're going to do is take this teardrop island that's at the northeast corner of the building and basically propose new curbing that will move that back about 4 feet or so. Variable width, 4 feet as you go around that corner, basically to give you additional room to maneuver, get aligned to the pay window and then continue making it easier for larger vehicles to move in.
Cool. Okay, can you now then draw in a concept of that in red and then mark it with an arrow and say proposed change to the teardrop?
It's already impervious.
That's not,
That island's not
I don't think so. Is the island?
Is that island impervious or?
impervious.
No, it's
That's
perfect.
pervious.
Impervious.
Yeah.
So your impervious cover is gonna change. I'm still gonna need a variance. It's probably minimal, but it's gonna change from what.
It's a de minimis deviation based upon this adjustment.
Yeah.
It's probably gonna end up almost being what it is
Yeah, I
today,
would
because
imagine,
it's gonna
yeah.
be almost maintained what it is now.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, hold on, let me just, I like, that's a good explanation for me.
Everyone's aluminum rims will thank you.
Exhibit A2. Okay. Got it. Thank you.
And I assume that change, along with there's a few other plan changes here that we've been talking about. Should you be successful and secure approval tonight, you will obviously make all these modifications on
Correct. We'll make a resolution compliance submission with all of these changes that we talked about. today.
resolution compliance and perfect.
Like the resolution, my resolution will require.
I'm sure it will.
Are there any additional questions for the project engineer?
Anybody? All right,
And I think that was everything on the list.
Yep, it was.
Mr. Hall, you're up. So you've previously been sworn in. If you could you provide your qualifications?
Again, identify yourself for the record.
Stephen Hawk, Hawk Planning LLC, project planner. And, I've been practicing planning for 35 years. I've been licensed in the state of New Jersey and a member of the American Institute of Certified Planners for 30 years. The bulk of my experience of 28 years working for a municipal planning, division, reviewing site plans, reviewing, use variances at board meetings, 400 to 500 board meetings during that time.
Which boards were those?
That was, the city of Vineland in Cumberland County is where I worked for 28 years. Ever since then, I've been in private practice representing developers or, clients, for development applications. And that's been for 7 years. I've probably appeared before over 50 boards throughout the state and have, handled over 100 applications.
I offer Mr. Hawk as an expert in the
and the board accepts Mr. Hawk's qualifications.
Thank you.
How do you spell your last name again?
HAWK,
Hawk.
no E. A lot of people want to put an E
Right,
or an S.
or an L, for the K.
Mr. Hawk, let's start with, if we could, with the D3 variance. You agree that we are a fast food restaurant within the B2 zone, we are conditional permitted approval, correct?
Correct, and that's the case with a conditional use. It's permitted if all the conditions are met. There's 3 conditions in your municipality that go with a fast food restaurant with a drive-through. And we meet 2 of them. You heard the testimony that we're gonna meet the window sign provision, that we would only have a maximum of 1, and it would be 15% max. That we wouldn't have signs or banners or strings or flags. So we're gonna meet that specific requirement. The second one that we meet, and I'll give a little bit of testimony on the architecture, and that's the compatibility with the architecture, landscaping, and site design for the planned commercial development within the property or within the site. And it was interesting, the 2006 resolution actually called out that when McDonald's was demolishing and rebuilding and probably rebranding and a different architecture, they came back with an architecture that they felt was more in line with what was there in the remainder of the site. They talked about straight roof lines and also getting rid of the famous McDonald's red, white, and yellow colors. So we now have more muted colors with the McDonald's, kind of matches the ShopRite and the Home Depot, not perfectly, but it kind of matches the muted colors, the earth tones into the tans and beiges and beige grays. The I noticed that the Home Depot and the ShopRite do have straight roof lines similar to ours. The landscaping is similar. We talked about River Rock. River Rock is throughout the remainder of that shopping complex, so there is some symmetry and some cohesiveness there, so that's nice. The site design, it's a similar curved driveways and access ways that meet regular ordinance standards. So I think we meet that provision as well. It's the one that we don't meet, that why we need the D3. And if we were building brand new, and this was from the start, we'd have a heavier lift. If we were expanding the building or adding height or bulk to the building, I think we would have a little bit more of a heavy lift. We're only adding a drive-through lane. And I don't think that the drive-through lane aggravates or exacerbates the deviation of the condition that we're deviating
Just for the
from.
record, what is that deviation?
It's the fact that, yeah, I didn't mention it. It's been mentioned several times today, but it's the prohibition on having a freestanding building when you're a fast food restaurant and a drive-through. They want them to be connected to a building, possibly to really get that symmetry of architecture and maybe have some cohesiveness to the buildings. But in this case, we're a freestanding building. We were built as a freestanding building when there wasn't a provision for that. And then when we came in for the demolition and the rebuild in 2006, this board made a finding that the D3 variance was appropriate. There was planning testimony and there was an approval for that.
Okay, now, do you feel that there's sufficient justification for the grant of the D3, the present application, and if so, why?
Okay, I have a few purposes of zoning that I've identified that I think are appropriate in
This
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 case.
is on the D3?
Correct.
This is on the D3, but you don't have to
need-
have purposes of zoning,
you don't-
I know.
You don't need any purposes of zoning.
Well,
for the
Coventry
D3.
Square just says that
Right.
you have to
Does the
focus
site
on the
remain
site
appropriate
remains
for the
appropriate.
use despite the deviation, yes or no?
Yes,
And why?
it does because the site is existing as it is now. It's been functioning well. It was completely not completely meeting all the ordinance standards, as we found out. We have a few design issues, but it's a functioning site on an overall site that has site access and good visibility from the highway and good access from the highway.
Right.
So I do have to do the negative
Yes, you
criteria for
do.
the
Yep.
D3 variance.
Yep.
And I have that. The first part is no substantial detriment to the public good, and that's really a test of, is it in character? Does it detract from the character of the neighborhood? And I would say definitely not. It's very much in character. First of all, the restaurant itself with the drive-through is built into the neighborhood. It is the character of the neighborhood now. And we're not changing much except for making a more efficient drive-through lane. But in canvassing the area, there are many freestanding buildings that are either fast food or restaurants and with drive-through. I don't think any of them are within your municipality. They're in the municipality across the street and then also the one that's a little bit further to the west. But it definitely doesn't do any detriment to the public good or any substantial detriments for sure. So no substantial impairment of the zone plan and
Go
zoning.
back to the no substantial detriment to the public good. What's your opinion on going from the one lane with the two windows to the dual lanes? Is that, from a public good, substantial detriment to surrounding, is that better or worse?
It's better. And it's better because it will almost go unnoticed from the public perspective. I'm gonna get into this a little bit more in the sign variances, but I can get into it now and I think it's appropriate. That second drive-through lane is surrounded on two sides, or it has two sides to it that are heavily vegetated. One is a stormwater basin to the north, and the other one, I'm gonna call it north, it's actually northeast. But it also has a wooded area that's also a low area for stormwater retention to the east towards the right side if you're facing the property and looking at it. So no substantial detriment to the public good is really mitigated by its location on the site and its fact that no one's gonna see it. So I'm gonna move on to no substantial impairment of the zone plan and zoning ordinance. And like I said, most of the designs standards are met by this application or by the existing building. This is an existing use in a building and therefore the impairment is minimal and not substantial. It's in the B2 highway business zone, which likes to cater to not only local, but also regional traffic and regional customers. Route 78 and Interstate Highway is nearby. So I feel like this use is appropriate and does not do any impairment of the zone plan or zoning ordinance.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Hawk. Now, there was a number of bulk variances, C
I could go through
variances.
those.
Yeah, if you could, I think if you have a list, I know you
I
were you were
do.
keeping notes, if you want to start going through the
Yeah,
variances.
this one goes slow.
Okay. Slower.
Yeah, everything else is fine, just.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. So the first one is the impervious coverage variance. And it's kind of odd, we're improving the impervious coverage, but municipal land use law, I've been around it long enough to know we need a variance
Put it
when
this
you're
way.
touching it.
Why don't we assume, because of the teardrop thing, that it's gonna stay the same?
Okay.
Okay, so make the same argument, but,
Okay.
okay,
Yeah, and let's just say it is saying the same, we're moving, impervious and pervious around, and we're gonna have the exact same impervious coverage. I think what's nice about this site and what lends itself to, fitting into the neighborhood in the area, even though it is approximately 10 to 11% higher than the maximum allowed at 60%, is we're surrounded by a lot of green space. We have a stormwater basin off to the north, which is fairly large. It's probably about 2 acres in size. And then we have that vegetated area to the east of the site. It gives the site an appearance of meeting the standards. And I think not only the fact that there's a decent amount of vegetation, especially the vegetation along the drive-through aisle where the windows are, there's heavy vegetation there, almost hiding the entire bottom of the vehicles. And I think with all of those aspects, it winds up being a variance that is not a problem with the ordinance.
and how about this? Would you agree, the Pullen versus South Plainfield Planning Board, which is a 1996 appellate division case, said that zoning benefits resulting from permitting a deviation in a C2 variance context are not restricted to those directly obtained from permitting the deviation. The benefits of the deviation can be considered in light of the benefits resulting from the entire proposed development.
That's correct. Your planner pointed that out in her report, and I agree with that.
Right, so I assume that your opinion is the benefit of doing the dual lane and the benefit of solving that problem with the vehicles hitting the side of the building. Those are the public benefits to customers
That's correct.
that will substantially outweigh any detriment
Purpose H.
of leaving
flow
the
of
impervious
traffic.
the same.
I also identified purpose J, no further degradation to the environment.
You said purpose H, I just want to make sure that's clear for the record.
H is for free flow of traffic and J is for the environment.
And A is for safety.
A is for safety. I agree with that also. But with J, there was testimony given that even though we're gonna have more cars on the site, they're gonna be more efficiently moving through. And as they move through faster, I feel there's gonna be less idling. And we certainly want to reduce idling, and that's something that will help the environment. So those purposes, I think, outweigh any detriments that impervious situation would deal with. So, am I all right to move on to the
Yep.
next one?
Next.
The double gateway drive-through clearance sign. It's existing at 12.7 square feet. We're proposing to reduce it, even though it's gonna be a little bit longer, I believe, and covering 2 lanes. It's gonna be 8.77 square feet, so we're reducing it by 3.93 square feet. It is higher than what's permitted, but we're reducing its height. It's currently 12 feet, and we're gonna go down to 11.7.
You're making it longer but lower.
Correct.
Can you clarify the square footage, because I have something different from what you just mentioned.
Yeah, I normally rely on her report for the resolution. Tell them what page to look at.
It's page 2, I have it at 6.64 square feet.
We have a little bit more square feet at 8.77, because now we calculated in the clearance bar as a
okay.
sign.
Okay. So it's 8.77.
Correct.
And I will just note that that
It's
is reflected on the red revisions here.
Okay, so the revised plan will accommodate those changes.
yes,
Okay,
yes.
very good.
Okay, thank you.
So what that double gateway drive-through clearance sign, the benefit that that provides in providing a better free flow of traffic is it allows drivers to make a decision earlier. You know, when they're coming around the corner of that building, they now see the two lanes clearly overhead, and it allows them to make that decision whether to go right or left. Especially if they're not familiar with it, they've been used to this McDonald's and it's one lane. Now that it's two, that clearly is going to show them and allow them to make that decision a little quicker. The clearance bar is very important because we don't want a vehicle that comes in that is too high and then knocks off a canopy at the pay window or at the corner of the building. So it really is meaningful to not cause destruction to both maybe a vehicle, a building, or a person as a result of that. So that clearance bar is important from a safety perspective. There's no substantial detriment to the public good, really for the same reasons with this double clearance bar. It's towards the rear of the property. It's actually technically on the side, but one of the best things about it is that heavily vegetated area to the east or to the right when you're looking at the McDonald's really hides it visually from the motoring public, especially someone that's westbound. They would have to, they're not going to be able to see it until they get past that wooded area. Then they're right on top of the site. They'd have to turn their head a full 90 degrees to maybe get a glance at it. So it's not going to affect the motoring public. Eastbound traffic on Route 22, it's hidden by the building for the longest time until they get past the building. They'd either have to be stopped at the red light and turn to the left and see it, but it would be quite a distance away from the road, or maybe not even see it at all. So I feel like there's no substantial detriment with regards to that sign. And there's also no substantial impairment of the zone plan and zoning ordinance. You have sign standards in place and you have them in there for specific reasons. It's not gonna, it's gonna protect property values. It can't be seen except for on site for the most part, and it won't distract motorists. You have no residential uses nearby that could see it, and it's a heavily commercial area, so I don't feel like there's a substantial impairment to the zone plan or zoning ordinance.
What about the menu board and free browse sign?
Yeah. So we have menu board signs, two of them, and we have pre-order or pre-browse signs, two of them. Currently, we have three. We have two menu boards and one pre-order sign, but we're only going to increase to one. The ordinance allows one sign. I think the ordinance doesn't contemplate the need, especially with a dual drive-through and post-COVID, the fact that the fast food and a drive-through really needs these types of signs in order to function properly. The pre-order sign or pre-browse sign is important because it allows customers to realize what they're going to be doing, realize what they're going to be ordering, and it doesn't cause that delay when they get to the menu board and then they're just staring at it and they're silenced. And we've all been behind those situations. So I think the pre-order sign is really important for traffic efficiency and for safety and for moving the traffic through. It's a situation where we're allowed to have one. We have three currently, and we're adding one to have a total of four, two for each lane. And I think that that's important. Total signage, I calculated that. We have an existing amount of total signage, even though there's not a standard for it. We have an existing total sign area amongst these four signs or three signs at 50.1 square feet. But we're going to 63.2 for the four. So it's not much of an increase over what's there now. But going to the first prong of the negative criteria, no substantial detriment to the public good. These are going to be even less visible than the double gateway clearance signs. They're going to be oriented to the east towards that wooded area and that heavily vegetated area that's a stormwater basin and will not be seen by the public or at least the motoring public.
And just, I know a comment was raised as to the sign content in the engineer's review memo. He raised the possibility of a variance needed for the change in copy on those pre-browse and menu
Or
boards.
put it this way, I think your engineers answered instantaneous,
No flashing, no
correct?
variances needed?
Right.
Okay, perfect. Just wanted to be sure.
Could I add something just that I think needs to go on the record? And I understand what Mr. Hawk is referencing. He's referencing direction by 22 east and west. As he keeps talking about to the east of the building and so forth. It's actually to the south of the building.
Okay.
So, because your directional references are in conflict with the engineers. Because.
And I stand corrected.
Yeah, no, that's why I want to get it on the record that.
That's great. Yep.
Up till now, when you refer to east, it's really south.
Yeah, because that north arrow is at a
Exactly,
diagonal. It's almost at a
exactly.
perfect diagonal. It's
Yeah,
almost at
so,
45 degrees.
right.
Just real quickly, the drainage basin you're talking about is obviously right there. And that's the wooded area.
Right.
And this even has a drainage structure in it
The
too,
wooded
that
area
functions
is
for
to the
stormwater.
south and the drainage basins to the north.
Right.
Correct?
Northeast and
Exactly.
south. Okay. I
And
like
I understand, everybody, because of 22 east and west, because actually the road is actually heading north and south.
It is.
In reality, so even though you're
I'm
on the
going based
westbound
my
lane and
even
these.
highway
right.
numbers, so
Yeah.
I apologize.
Okay, so did I confuse everybody now?
No, you actually cleared it up for me. Thank you.
That's
Okay,
great,
good.
yeah, thanks.
Second brownie point of the evening.
Wow, one more would be a miracle.
So I want to finish up on that variance for, negative criteria prong 2, which is no substantial impairment of the zone plan and zoning ordinance. It's similar. It'll protect property values. It can't be seen except for on the site, and will not distract motorists. So it's in line with what the ordinance contemplates.
Consistent with the intent and purpose of the signage ordinance.
Correct. Waivers.
I think some more variances.
We want to go right into the variances?
Yeah, let's just knock them all off.
Okay.
Let's talk hours of operation.
Time, yeah, hours of operation.
Yeah, so first of all, what type of variance are we talking about for the hours of operation?
So we are seeking a variance to permit the.
No,
C2.
that's what,
Oh, okay.
So I think the benefits outweigh the detriments. And here it's that same case that you brought up with the benefits of the overall site can outweigh the detriments. And I think the detriments are very, very slight, but the benefits are along the lines of, there's approximately another 1,000 customers more per week as a result of those 2 hours. And it's not only the food, but I'll make a thought that, and I think it's very beneficial to the motoring public and also to safety, is that you have Route 78 nearby. People want to get off the highway sometimes and take a coffee break, and they know their McDonald's. They have their app. That McDonald's serves a regional need, and it could keep people more alert and be a better situation for doing, for having coffee late at night. There's no residential uses nearby, and there's no effect of that activity at that site between 10 and 12. I don't think it's gonna wake anyone up. I don't think anyone's gonna hear it or see it. It's a heavily commercial area. So we wanna go into loading.
no. So
No.
that's one part. That's the hours of operation for customers being able to eat
Oh,
between
yeah.
10 PM and 12 AM. Now the variance to allow the deliveries from 12 AM to 6 AM.
Okay, allowing the deliveries from 12 AM to 6 AM is important because the delivery can stay out of the way of traffic during operating hours of the McDonald's customer. So that's a definite benefit. It allows for free flow of traffic, satisfies purpose H. And it also would not have a substantial detriment because of the heavily wooded area to the south and also the basin to the northeast. And also the fact that it's there's no residential uses nearby.
And then on the topic of unloading, there's also a variance needed for the designated loading or unloading area.
Right.
Can you speak to that?
Yeah, that's also gotta be a C2 variance. We're allowed to have, well, we're supposed to have one. We have 0. Since the unloading of, food and provisions and
So put
supplies.
it- it's the same argument for the hours of operation for the deliveries, right?
Yeah, it is.
So you would incorporate the justification you just provided for the hours of operation for the lack of a loading or unloading spot.
If in other words, if the deliveries are from 12 a.m. to 6 a.m. and the place is closed, customers aren't in there, what's the problem?
Right.
Correct. I think there was some.
Oh, no, we have more. You have-
Existing-
Two C1s, the two C1 hardships for the two existing conditions. I mean,
Okay.
just say it.
We need 2C1 variances for the existing conditions. It's impractical to seek more land to have more depth and more width, given what's around us.
Beautiful.
And then you can't forget, and I know you know this by, off the top of your head, you know, this is a situation uniquely affecting a specific piece of property or structures lawfully existing thereon, and those light standards are existing lawfully thereon.
I think you nailed all the variants.
So there's the light, that was your speaking, the light, the variance we need for the non-conformity with. the-
Existing lights.
Yeah.
Just to leave the lights as they are. We can provide that testimony in
Yeah,
support of that.
but that's gonna be a C1 also, so.
Right, I agree. I thought I included that with both, but it's.
You did.
Yeah,
You did,
I heard
you
you.
did.
All right, thank you.
Just making it clear.
We're not crazy. Not yet.
I believe that's all the variances. There are some waivers that we're seeking.
Yeah, and they're all reasonable and will meet the intent of the ordinance, in my opinion.
Just for the record, just name the exceptions that you need.
Could you help me with that?
So I think reviewing the review memos, I believe they were all checklist
Yeah, they're not-
waivers,
they're not
condition
design
waivers.
Yeah.
So if they're not design exceptions,
Then they're not even.
And we're good.
you don't have any.
We're in conformity.
Yeah, because no, all the waivers and so forth you needed were granted,
Right,
so.
those are,
So
those are,
if it's only on a checklist, there's nothing to talk
Right.
about.
Mike does
right,
it.
that's right.
Perfect.
And that's a waiver in any event of the checklist. No exceptions, correct?
Correct.
He's done. Questions?
Um,
No question.
Kendra, Mike, any questions? For Mr. Hall?
No, no,
We don't have any.
cleared up the directional things.
Board members, do you have any questions for Mr. Hall?
Although you're gonna have a lot more vehicles to be able to service, are there gonna be more employees to service all these extra vehicles?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I think that's for the
I mean, it doesn't
operator.
matter at that point. if
Yeah,
you don't-
that's for the
you
operator.
don't have enough.
That's not for Mr. Hall.
Well,
Well, you gotta come on up.
You don't.
Wait, hold up. Before you, does anyone have any questions for Mr. Hawk, or can he be excused?
Looks like he can be excused.
All right, let's get your last witness. And you don't have to say anything other than answer questions, I would think.
Okay, thank you.
And all you gotta, just move over this way a little.
Yeah,
closer.
I'll go there. Just state your name again for the record.
Right, thank you.
Sean McIntyre. Owner operator at McDonald's.
So, any questions for Mr. McIntyre? Barry?
My question is, will there be additional employees hired to handle the extra workload that?
Yes, I mean, yeah, of course, if we need them, we will. We can be more productive, people can be more productive too, so, but yeah, of course, we will hire more people, more employees. Yeah, we have to,
So it'll be a positive that additional jobs will be available at McDonald's.
yeah.
Although the board's not supposed to consider that, so it's just an editorial comment.
Exactly.
Not making it into my notes.
Didn't ask you to write it.
Any? Any additional questions? I'll state for the record, there's still is no one here from the public.
That's right.
Just-
They didn't show up tonight.
So, You have some closing statements then?
You can waive the closing.
Brief, I just want to thank everyone for their time and attention. I think this plan, obviously with the comments we received tonight, it's going to be a safer, it's going to be a more efficient site plan. This restaurant will be able to operate that much better than it does currently, more efficiently. And again, I thank everyone for their time and attention tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll close the public hearing for deliberations and
Who's going first?
any deliberations, comments or whatever?
Now, just for the benefit of a new board member, the case law doesn't require a deliberation, but it's a good practice. If you deliberate, people can get, have an idea of why you did what you're gonna do. Looks like you're going first.
Well, I think it really comes down to a motion to,
You're not even gonna deliberate?
not really.
Deliberate
I mean,
yourself.
I think we beat it.
All right, you're gonna deliberate. The board should grant the approval for all the reasons that their planner stated. That's your deliberation?
Yes,
Subject to the conditions that they agreed to.
subject to, do you want to go through the conditions?
No. I'd
We're
rather,
not getting out of here.
if the motion to grant, subject to the conditions, it'll be in my draft, and I always give my draft to the applicant's attorney, and if I miss something, I'm sure he'll tell me.
Okay, so I'd like a motion to grant the application subject to the conditions.
Motion. I'll second.
Mark, very good. And now, before you call the roll, little learning moment, she'll only call 7 on D variances. Yeah,
Excluding class 1 and class 3 members.
correct. And any alternates excluded.
And yeah,
Right, you go for the,
unless we need
right,
them, which we
Unless
don't.
we need them.
right, you go for the first 7,
The first eligible 7 members excluding class
Correct.
1 and 3.
correct.
She knows it.
You should, the motion for the Cs
There's any motion,
included in the D,
Yeah,
or no,
this-
D is solo?
no, this is a motion for the whole enchilada. This is a
Oh.
motion for the Ds, the Cs, the preliminary. and
Preliminary,
final site.
okay, the whole enchilada, that would be the whole enchilada.
Yeah.
You would manage your motion.
To be clear.
Have it grant the whole enchilada.
Yeah, this is not a Taco Bell, that's
Right.
probably the wrong term.
That's true.
That's
Just to be clear,
Big Mac.
The Big Mac.
this motion would be to grant approval of the application, that is the D3 variance, the C variances and the site plan.
Right.
So let's redo those.
That's the
So Mark and Gary again.
Mr. Bruce Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Mark Scuderi.
Yes.
Mr. Joseph Giacomo,
Yes.
Mr. Joseph Fiamma,
Yes.
Mr. Gary Hill.
Yes.
Mr. Jeremy Blunt.
Yes.
Mr. George Bradlaugh.
Yes. Okay.
Chairman, members of the board, thank you as well.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, thank you.
Got 2 hours and 45 minutes to get a burger.
Mike, here's your
I'm having a good night tonight, Joe?
Just
I was just saying,
bring your
when
small
the cannabis store.
This is gonna be booming.
So let's circle back on the escrows just for some clarity here. So I'm showing here for Stickle, a check for 5140. Did you get paid that?
I have no idea. Oh, my firm.
Oh, yeah, right,
Yes.
okay.
Is that the last 2 from Metro Tech?
I
Yes.
assume it's.
So as per Shannon's text message to me, she said, I do not believe the last 2 checks were sent out because they didn't have any money.
Okay, that's the way it's supposed to work.
So she asked them for more money. She's going to reach out again on Saturday.
Right, but you're gonna tell her how much to ask for.
I told her to ask for enough to cover the bills plus an extra 5,000.
Right.
All right, so,
I'm gonna email him tonight and let him know that we can't sign.
Yeah,
the
well,
deed.
so what I'd like is a motion to direct Amy and myself to not sign the deeds
Right.
until the escrow balances are
We
brought
have
up.
the deed to merge the 2 lots together.
Which
I'll
is
make that
conditional.
motion.
You need a motion.
I'll make
for
that motion, yeah.
Jeremy?
Okay, so Jeremy.
I'll second.
Dana?
Right, so the roll.
Roll call, Mr. Bruce Williams.
Yes.
Mr. Mark Scuderi.
Yes.
Mr. Paul Bean.
Yes.
Mr. Joseph Giacomo.
Yes.
Mr. Brian Baylor. Oh, he's up, never mind. Mr. Joseph Fiamma,
Yes.
Mr. Gary Hill,
Yes.
Mr. Jeremy Blunt.
Yes.
And Ms. Andrea Sherlock.
She had.
She left.
Oh, she left.
Yeah.
Everyone left. Mr. George Bradlaugh,
Yes.
Ms. Dana Parker.
Yes.
Mr. Bob Graham.
Yes. Okay, I don't think there's any more comments on this, so do you have an update on,
Yes. So on the Ingerman project, as everyone's aware, actually, Mike, can you give the update on the Ingerman project? Because it's more construction wise.
Yeah, no,
Nothing
we're-
left legally.
Yeah, sure. I'm sure everyone is well aware the project has commenced construction phase. We're still working out some initial logistical things with the applicant, with the Ingermans, relative to some traffic issues. So we're trying to get him to put up some green mesh over the fence to kind of mask things a little bit. We've added some other security fencing in the back. There's gonna be some signage added and so forth. These are the initial things that kind of go along with any decent sized project, construction project. But they're field guys who I knew Jeff Long as we did. I didn't know they're construction guys because they have a construction division. And they've been very nice to deal with. Every time we've asked them for something, they've provided it. So it's, I've also heard some complaints. You throw a big project there at a pretty busy intersection in town, and there's gonna be people that aren't prepared. And it's gonna be that way through construction. There's no doubt. That's just the way it is. So, by and large, I think it's been going pretty well, and I'm encouraged by my initial dealings with them during this phase of the project. So, good enough, John?
Yeah, that's good.
Anything else from you?
Yeah, so on the Petrucci Affordable Housing Project, there are two issues holding them up from coming back here for approval. And let's just refresh everyone's recollection. There's a sewer easement that we got to the point where we almost filed the condemnation action, and it looks like, as of 2 weeks ago, it's tentatively settled, but the paperwork's not in yet. And so,
Yeah.
Did that stop
How
it?
about that?
Hmm?
No,
It doesn't stop it.
have to eminent domain it.
Okay.
Oh, that's
yeah,
nice.
I can't go into any more details than that. Now, on the other hand, the stormwater easement relocation, which I thought was heading towards a settlement, now looks like we're gonna have to condemn. We're gonna have to file a condemnation action on that, and I'll tell Mike the details about that later. And so I'll update everyone next month on that.
Are we allowed to ask about the time frame of said condemnation? Like, how long would that be?
Months.
Am I allowed to admit that that makes me?
Put it this way, I think if anyone has any other questions that should be done, not as a full board, I don't wanna have to waste the time to go into closed session, but I'll stick around after. If people wanna ask me individual questions. How's that?
Okay,
Beautiful.
Rich, you better wrap it up, isn't it?
You should.
I think so.
Okay, then a motion to.
I already made that.
Well, I didn't hear it.
No one seconded it yet.
Second.
Oh.
Okay, Jeremy and Joe, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained, motion carried.
All right, thank you guys. Yeah.